Okay, like what was your single? Well, at the time, what was your single? You think
Single
on deadlift
competitively, it was only
max?
601. In the gym, I was able to do 7
Okay,
one
How
time.
that's pretty
how's
good.
that? How's there a 100 pound difference because you're in a different place?
You know, it's like
Wait,
Yeah,
how much
do
do you
we need to
need?
get started?
You're
yeah.
going.
Oh,
Oh,
we're
we're
You're
going.
going.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're
just
rolling,
go.
dude. We're rolling.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
this is
ahead.
Paradise
oh,
Pump.
okay. Sorry.
Welcome to Paradise
Yeah.
Pump. We were rolling. So anyway, we're just talking about high intensity training, Mike Menser style, Dorian Yates, just that type of training method, and if it's effective or not. And I think we've kind of come to the conclusion for most of us probably that it's a genetic and chemical assisted. It is very effective, but that's probably most programs. If you're genetically gifted and chemically assisted, it's
Almost no
going to
matter
be
what you
pretty
do
good.
works, right?
Yeah, yeah. You could do crazy sets, 30 sets per body part. It probably works. You could do 10 sets per body part. It probably works. So it's just, yeah, a matter of, I think, what kind of training do you enjoy? Some guys like staying in the gym for 2.5 hours.
Oh God,
Other guys want to be in and out within an hour, right? So,
that's me.
so yeah. So what do you like? Because I've kind of done them all. And
Same.
the difference, I can tell you the difference that I got from doing those crazy sets for body parts is I just felt a lot more tired. Like overall, like daily, like I wake up the next day, I just felt tired, a lot more tired.
Okay, question.
So
Everyone always asks, especially when they're like, "Oh, you're a personal trainer." You know, they want to go like, "Okay, so if I want to get stronger, do I do low reps and heavyweight,
Hmm.
or do I want to build endurance and I do higher reps with less weight?"
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
mean, I don't know. What's
right.
your advice? What would you say?
I mean, well, yeah, I would say to get strength, yeah, you're going to do lower reps. It's depending on what you're looking for, but yeah, that 3 to 6 maybe
Let's say it's more
strength
just
training.
somebody like doing body recomp, just want to
Okay,
like
okay,
shape
yeah,
themselves. That's most of our clients, right?
right, right.
So with weight loss, like, do you think you would have to do super high reps with lower weight? Because that's what a lot of people tend to believe.
Is that what got the muscle there?
If they have any to begin with, who knows?
So do what I mean. If you got somebody that's already been lifting for a while, keep doing without the muscle there. That'll keep it there.
Right.
You
I
don't go
mean,
changing
yeah.
everything
What
up.
about in general? Like, you get somebody kind of new to the gym, works out a little bit, nutrition's like really off, and we've all had those clients, like where they come in and they need help, like, and they know it.
I
So
think, I mean, yeah, you can stimulate growth, right? With, those 6 reps, right? That's 5 to 8 or something, right? You could probably get growth from that. I think though, I definitely like to do that 12 to 15 range for most people. I just think it's because the weight, in order for you to get 12 to 15 good reps, it's not going to be as heavy, right? As if you were gonna, because if you're gonna go to failure, say,
yeah,
obviously you're getting 6 reps. That's a pretty heavy weight for you to go to failure at 6. You go to failure at 15, the weight's a little bit lighter. So it lowers the risk of getting injured, especially if they're kind of newer, then their form might not be that great. And then I think just getting underneath that bar and doing those amount of reps every time, I think you just get better at it.
do the hard
Doing a
stuff.
lot more reps, like 15, 15, 15. That's a lot of reps. You're in the gym. I think over time you get better. And I don't know. I think you probably burn more calories overall because you're doing more reps, right, per
Yeah,
set. So that's just for somebody who's just looking to like, want to work out, want to look good. That why would you put the risk of possibly getting injured and all that? I would try to lower that as much as possible and still give them all the benefits, which is that 12 to 15. I think is great for the average person. I think that's the range. And
It's
you still get strength from it. Yeah.
it's such a loaded question because there's
Yeah.
so many
there's so many
variables.
Yeah,
things,
there's so many,
You know.
but I like the 12 to 15.
but
Yeah.
I think it's a
And then
loaded
legs,
But
question.
you
It's
might
like,
throw in 20
first and
reps.
foremost, like you mentioned, is like you have to make sure that they're getting an effective rep
Yeah.
and doing it correctly.
Mm.
You know, and something I always said, your body doesn't know numbers.
Yeah.
Like so, like the physiological like stress that you're taking on your body, it doesn't recognize 15 reps versus 5 reps. It just recognizes the time under that tension of stress,
Mm.
and how hard that stress is, basically. So it's like we use reps, but if the reps, if you're not squeezing the muscle throughout the entire And then there's the tempo of the rep too, right?
Yeah.
Like, so somebody can just rip out a whole bunch and say, well, I got 20 reps, so I did better than last week. No, your reps were shittier than last week.
Mhm.
And you spent less time under the tension. And so you're probably not gaining any weight.
Well,
Do you think the very like last reps need to be the hardest ones?
I
the
think they all
hardest.
need to be equal. And I feel like you should be putting an emphasis on squeezing the muscle through the range. There's so much like,
But like, what about
huh,
this, right? So, okay, because yeah, your body doesn't know reps, but if the weight isn't heavy enough and you do 100 reps, right?
well, that's a great question. So
See what I mean?
this is
Like,
what I always use.
you've got to use a certain amount of weight to
I
keep
use,
them within a certain
yeah,
range, because you're not gonna
it's
get
just this,
jacked doing 100 rep sets.
no,
You know, like right with dumbbell curls, with 10-pound dumbbell curls all day long. Like, come on,
but
like
counting the reps is more for the scale of the program.
right. No, I mean I get it. You
Yeah.
don't have to count exact,
Yeah,
but
like
it helps most people.
if you're doing a weight that you're failing at
Yeah.
like 4, you're going too heavy. If you're
Right.
doing a weight that you're failing at like 25, you're going too light.
Yeah.
But if you're failing around that 8 to 12 rep range, I'd say you're right there.
Right.
In that.
Right. So there. So right.
Yeah.
So like you said, your body doesn't know reps, but you have to have a certain amount of load on your body.
Well, and the time under that load,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So it's
Right.
that time under tension,
Yeah.
Time during the set,
Because
or time
okay,
during the
because
workout.
huh?
Time like in the set, or time without like within the
The-
workout.
No, time like where your muscle is stressed under the gravity of that weight.
Right. Okay.
Now,
So
how much time is that muscle being stretched during that single rep? You did like a 1 second concentric and then a 4 second eccentric. Will be very different
oh
set
yeah.
of reps if it was a 1 centric concentric and a 1 second eccentric.
Yeah, of
Right.
course.
You know what I mean?
that's the
Yeah.
part of the rep that a lot of people kind of slack on.
Right.
But what I learned in college, and I'm sure you guys know this too, just from like experience of it all, the muscle actually produces more force in the eccentric portion of the movement,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it doesn't get fatigued as easily. So when people don't spend a lot of time on it, like the concentric action of the muscle will typically get fatigued way faster, and
Mhm.
but you still have some gas in the tank. You still
Mhm.
got something left. It's just that's where like maybe some cheating reps, some forced reps, something
Yeah.
like that might kind of help, because then you can pop that weight up, right, where you're already weak, but you still got 30% left,
Mhm.
energy wise, to
Right. Yeah,
go
exactly.
down.
Well, that was part of what Dorian was big on. He was big on the negatives, like he always said,
Same with DC
you
training
got to
too,
push the
and 4 to 2
negatives. Yeah.
training, like negative and like these stretches
Yeah.
are, and you're seeing it in a lot of scientific studies. I mean, how many times have we heard like hypertrophy is greater under the negative or the eccentric
Right.
portion of
Right.
the lift?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
And then there's just like this is a deep rabbit hole we can go into in this sense. It's just like looking at somebody who comes in. Most of us are getting fairly experienced lifters, especially if we're getting competitors, and they come in, they pretty much know how to train, but they're not gaining anymore. Well, of course, that could be their nutrition is off
yeah.
or,
Bad advice.
but what do we know? I mean,
Bad
just think
coach.
about, just think about what are some of
Sorry.
without getting any science mumbo jumbo, like
Okay.
what do we know for sure? One thing we know for sure,
Steroids work.
well, yes, is that the most seasoned lifter will have a harder time creating like new stimulus.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
because their body's just adapted to
Mhm.
all kinds of stresses that you're giving it,
Mhm.
right? And so we always see that like if you take somebody who's barely ever trained, and they got like semi good physique because they play sports or whatever,
Mhm.
but then you get them into a solid resistance training program and they respond very well.
Yeah.
But take a guy who's been competing and been bodybuilding and everything, and he's just like, oh, I just need a new fresh start. It's going to be much harder to create that same stimulus, right?
Oh yeah.
And so that's kind of where you have to like watch how he's been training and figure out how to do something, give his body something that he's not used to seeing. And here's an example. It's like one of the number one things you hear about is like weak body part training is the calves.
Right.
You know, it's just like, and I always bring this up with the calves because I feel like when I started, my calves were weak. And just by chance, I found an exercise that I enjoyed doing, but I didn't really understand how it was working, but my calves totally transformed.
Ooh, this can be a really cool subject,
Huh?
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go down this rabbit hole.
And then it was just like, but then the more and more you just learn about like muscle physiology and hormetic adaptation and all that kind of stuff, then you're like, okay, this totally makes sense. Because so many people have trouble like building their calves. For one, you know, it's a muscle that's taking your entire body weight all day long.
Mhm.
So this is a muscle that's getting a lot of use.
Mhm.
So it's resilient. You know, it's dense.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody knows it's dense if they ever had a needle stuck in it for whatever reason.
Or you get a massage in your calf.
Yeah, or a
So-
massage.
God, it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's
Well, there's a lot to it too. Right? You got like basically like 4 different muscles in there,
yeah, right. You know, but it's such a
major ones.
and it's a very dense muscle on a very elastic tendon. You know, the Achilles
Mhm.
that's
Oh,
on
yeah.
there. You know, that
Mhm.
protects it from you know being pulled and all that kind of stuff. But in everyday use, you know, some people more than others just walk, like more a lot more than others, right?
Yeah.
But just take walking, for instance, right? So you got the flexation of the like the ankle, you know, and your calf, if this is, you know, the tibialis and the calf is back here, and right here is, you know, the top of your foot. So your calf is used to this stress all day long,
Right.
you know? But what stress does your calf almost never see? And that's a
Stretch.
stretched position,
Full
Yeah.
stretch.
Right.
right? Just like, and so nobody, almost nobody trains or puts enough emphasis on putting that
Stretch.
calf under that, like
Yeah.
under that stress for any kind of a lengthy period of time. And so what I discovered was sitting on the 45-degree angle leg press and letting just put the ball of your foot on top of the press
Mhm.
and then letting your heel hang off of it.
Yeah.
And in between sets, I'm not racking that weight.
You're just
I'm
holding
just
it.
holding that weight under that heavy ass stress. And then you come up and you can barely get,
Yeah.
I mean, it is so painful. You can barely get that thing. But you come down slow and then even when it's rested, it's not rested
Yeah.
because it's being held in that stress position.
You know, I tore my calf like that. It's years ago, and I was
Uh-huh.
doing exactly that on the leg press, and I would do that, right? And I would like stretch and hold it, and I would do my set,
Mhm.
and then I would just hold it and stretch. And I was getting, I thought I was getting pretty flexible with it, right? So it was like I would go further and further back.
Mhm.
And when I tore it, I wasn't, I was literally stretching it. I was holding it back, and it just popped. It's
Mm.
like, it
How much
sounded
weight
like,
did you have on there though?
I mean,
Because you don't need a
for the average
lot.
person, I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it was like, it might have been like maybe 3 or 4 45s on each side.
Mm.
It was somewhere around there. It wasn't, that was good weight, to do
Yeah.
those sets, but that thing
So,
popped and,
what
yeah,
popped though? The actual
yeah,
the
well, it was the
muscle or
muscle.
the
Yeah, it was the
Achilles?
muscle.
It was
No,
the
it wasn't
muscle.
Achilles. It wasn't Achilles.
Mm.
It was the muscle. And, yeah, so, after, after that, I was like, oh, okay. And that's probably partly because, I didn't stretch enough, I didn't stretch my calves enough anyway. My calves are really tight, but then I have a pretty high tolerance for pain, I think, in the stretch position,
Mm.
in most stretches.
Yeah.
Like I can overly stretch myself and hurt myself stretching sometimes because I have a high tolerance for it. So that's probably what happened. I mean, it would burn, but I just, oh, I can go more and more.
But think about this also, right? So that's just one example of the calves, right?
Yeah.
Something I was always told, by far the most effective exercise for building the most mass on your hamstrings was the RDL, the
Yes,
Romanian
yeah,
deadlift.
right. Oh, yeah.
What position is your hamstrings under stress in the RDL? It's in
Right.
that full
It's that
stretched position
stretch.
under
Right.
tension,
Right.
right? And then that led me to think another body part that a lot of people have a hard time growing is their biceps,
Mhm.
right? And we're all doing these curls like this.
But
But
it's a
then you look at a
stretch.
gymnast, and they always
Yeah.
have like unbelievably like developed biceps.
Hmm.
What position is their arms in mostly?
Stretch.
In a stretched
Iron
position.
cross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
always hanging, or even when they're on the horses.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know,
It's
so you don't see them like this a lot.
no. Well, that's a weak position.
Right. So
Yeah.
their hands, their muscle is under tension, but in the elongated position.
Mm.
It
They're
would be
creating
pretty
tension like
cool to
that.
like
Yeah.
develop a program, and I'm just like hypothesizing, where you emphasize the majority of the time under tension in the elongated position of every
Mm.
muscle group you can think of.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can see it.
So like on chest, it would be like flies, where
Yeah.
you're like
Come on.
very slow negative and you're really pushing that and you're heavy down here.
Hmm.
Even maybe partial reps in that stretch position.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And think about all muscles in that. Same thing with triceps. Like I'll never get a more like sore, the delayed onset muscle soreness we call DOMS when we do, except when we do triceps overhead because it's in the full stretch position.
Right.
You know, and then it's just that stretch again. The muscle under the elongated position, I think is that may be like the total key
Yeah.
to new growth for a lot of people. I don't
I
know,
think
like
it.
I
I
feel
think
like
it
I might be too
works.
old to try it because you know we don't really grow so much when
Yeah.
we're in our 50s.
Yeah. Well, I
But
think.
for a younger guy that's been training for a while, I wouldn't mind like putting together a program where you're really emphasizing in all muscle groups because something, you know, something I just read not that long ago was to really get explosive growth out of your quads is that when you're squatting and they were using the Smith machine squat, is to almost sit at the bottom
Hmm.
for a good few seconds.
Hmm.
Again, because the quad is under stress at the longest stretched position.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it feels like everyone's recognizing that instead of we're all thinking about shortening that muscle, you know, contracting it and stretching it, but never really emphasizing stressing it when it's elongated.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was like full range
I don't
movements.
know. I haven't seen like
Um.
it's just something my brain's been thinking.
No, it's funny because I mean, that's how I train a lot now. Anyway, those a lot of times because I won't go as heavy, right? And I'll hold that weight down there, and I'll hold it and let it stretch it, and then I'll kind of do my reps. I don't even squeeze on top, contract, come back down, hold it for a while, and it feels great. Feels good. I don't have to go as heavy at my set when I'm done. I mean, it feels like I went
Yeah.
a lot heavier than I did, which was good. You know, like hey, I don't want to get hurt. I'm not trying to push crazy weight anymore. So I like the feeling of that too. You really get a nice stretch,
Well,
like you said, in those
I've
movements.
personally seen like clients of my own when they're really trying to build their lats. I
Mm.
took them off the lat pull down and put them on the pull up.
Oh
Because
yeah,
the one
yeah,
thing about the
yeah.
pull up, you know, and then I make sure that they come from a fully hung position
Hmm.
instead of, you know,
Yeah,
how many people just go like this and then leave
Yeah.
it like that,
yeah,
And they'll
yeah.
you
leave their
know?
Well,
shoulders
yeah, you
down too.
gotta
You
bring
gotta
your
bring your
shoulders
you gotta
up.
bring your
Yeah.
shoulders up to stretch it
Yes,
too.
Exactly.
yes. Hey, speaking of lats, because this exercise it just gets me every time, and I mean, there's some experienced guys doing it. I don't know, but it's a lot of new guys, man. And it's that incline chest supported. They put it by the cable machine, right?
Hmm.
And they do
Oh
the
god.
one, they got that 45 degree right here, and they sit here and they do the one arm like this, and they come in, and they come out and slow and they stretch and they come down, and they're real
Does
Hmm.
slow.
Sebum do them? Is that why?
Is that where that's from?
It's my best guess.
Because I see it so much now and I'm watching these guys
If it's trendy,
and
it's
I'm
probably
like,
because of
what?
somebody like that.
What's going on, dude? Like, I don't know. Like, is, I mean, I see, yeah, it's a decent exercise, but it's like a staple for a lot of these guys, man. And they're in there making noises and stuff. Like, it's like wrecking them, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
you're doing one arm cable pull downs, dude. Like,
I see it
I don't
on
know.
some of the other machines too, where like they take like a hammer strength machine
Yeah.
and just something with a high handle and sit sideways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's some, there's the one, the underhand hammer strength. And I love that machine. Dorian Yates used to do that, right? And you put chest is on the pad, right? So you're here and you're coming in, you're getting that full stretch, right? Shoulders forward, and you're coming back, right? Well, I see guys, they're like doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're twisting their
Yeah.
body.
Their hips
They don't even
are
realize what they're doing, I don't think, because they load it up. And they're like literally turning their body, twisting, and they're coming up and they're thinking they're getting a better stretch, right? But they're completely twisting and then coming back. And then again, they're moving their body off of that pad.
Right.
So they're using their lower back and everything to get the weight back. And I'm just like,
Like
again, why don't you follow the instructions on the machine? Like it was these guys took time to design this thing. That you know what I mean? Like people are always trying to come up with some creative way to make this machine effective. And I'm like, I get it. Some stuff, sometimes it's cool.
yeah.
But then a lot of times I'm like, dude, it's not no, like
Back gets really confusing for a lot of people. You know, it's like just one muscle part like you can't see
yeah,
visually
right.
very easily, right? So like you hear a lot of people complain about like forearms are pumped, their biceps are sore, but
Yeah.
their back feels fine, blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Well, a lot of
So-
guys don't even hit their back correctly,
No,
right? You
yeah.
know, they're not getting it right.
So I always try to like a little catchy thing I guess I say to all my clients is first muscle to move is a muscle that works the hardest. And it's just so like when you're doing back, especially on rows, right? It's like the first action should be pulling your shoulder blades together
Yeah,
because that's
yeah.
what it does.
Right.
And you follow through, but you don't get here because I can
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah,
and
rip it
it's
with your
all
arm.
bicep. My back's not
Right.
doing anything.
Yeah.
And don't turn it into an ab exercise where you hunch over because
Right.
you're thinking about pulling the handles to you
Or
Yeah.
rather than getting your back
or
stimulated.
a lower back exercise where you're
Charge all
doing
the way back
this.
here.
Where you're doing
I
this.
see that on
right?
lat pull downs every
We've
day.
seen a few,
Yeah.
even experienced people. I mean, I've seen. I'm just like, maybe he wants to do lower back with lats. Maybe I don't. You know, maybe he's
Maybe.
trying to hit two body parts. I don't know, man. But I mean,
My main tip is like if you grip the handle super hard, you're going to put too much emphasis on your arms. And it's just like when you're doing any kind of a back exercises, let's just take that one for instance, like a row or something like that. Okay, well, the stressor is really the gravity stressor is really right at your hands. But somehow you have to go through this link and put that stressor back here on the back muscle and minimize the use of this link as much as possible.
yeah,
So if you grip this whole thing real tight, of course your arms are going to be tight. Now all this is in action, taken away from the back. So I always hands are just hooks. Like you should be able to just hook your fingertips around and then pull with your elbows. Not with your hands, but it's like a puppet string. Pull with your elbows, pull back with your elbows. Just like this. And your hands are only there just to hook the weight. But if you grip the bar and you come like this,
yes,
yeah, your arms are going to take too much of the stress away from the muscle that you're trying to apply that stress to.
and I think there's a confusion for a lot of people because a lot of people think strength training, right? Not bodybuilding. And I think a lot of times people are thinking strength, like we're moving weight, you know, like how whatever it takes, like I'm moving it from point A to point B. But
Yeah.
we're bodybuilding, right? We're specific, like we're trying to engage our lats and our back. We're not just trying to use every muscle that we can use to move the weight. That's not the goal for us, right? It's
Right.
to use specific muscles. And there's a lot of people I think that get confused and they're, or maybe, you know, they just think, oh, I'm just trying to move that weight. I'm not concerned about
And if
some of
that's
these
their
body
goal,
parts.
you know,
Right.
if their
yeah.
goal is
Right.
strength training, that's
But it's different.
yeah,
You see,
right.
it's different. Because I've had guys say, "Oh, you guys, you bodybuilders are wearing straps. You guys are doing it wrong." And I'm like,
I think that's bullshit.
no,
I was
no,
like,
no.
because physiologically I can hold more weight. Like I feel the weight.
Yeah.
Nervous system overload and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Right. So
like it's
if I
not
put
wrong.
straps on and hold 700 pounds,
Right.
you know, and then all right, I know how now I know I can hold it. I can fucking
Yeah.
hold it. So let's try with no straps. Look at me, I'm fucking holding it still.
Right.
Like
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are like big on that. You know, they
Yeah.
talk, they talk down about bodybuilders, like, oh, you guys, they always have to use straps and all these. You know, so I'm like, no, you don't know what you're talking about for one, because it's not the same sport. Like,
no.
we're not powerlifters. You
No,
know,
it's a completely different
yeah,
style
we're
of training.
doing bodybuilding. It's
But I
different.
promise if you were to do lat pull downs bodybuilder style
Yeah,
and then go back to that, you're gonna be able to do more with that different form or whatever.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna be stronger or you're gonna be able to do more reps, whatever it is that like you're trying to do.
yeah,
Guaranteed.
yeah.
Jed looks
Yeah.
like he has something to say.
Okay.
Just whatever your goal is, right? You know, if somebody wants to, I want to become a lot stronger. All right, yeah,
Right.
I'm going to show you how to do that lift using all like your
Yeah.
supporting muscle groups to
Right.
help you move. Like, what is your goal? Is your goal just like to get that weight to from point A to point B in a particular exercise? Or your
How you
goal is
get
to
there?
be stronger in the sport that you're playing,
Right.
or
Exactly.
it's
Yeah.
like
Or you just want to develop a great
a
physique.
lot of people do this because they want to look better.
Yeah.
Like I want to look, and obviously a stronger muscle will be a bigger muscle, but if you're going for development, then we're not interested in using supporting muscle. We're more interested in isolating each muscle group so we can
Right.
put the tension
And
only on a particular muscle so we can grow that particular muscle.
and that's the thing is that's bodybuilding.
Right. That's
And then
bodybuilding.
there's powerlifting, and there's like it would be funny if there's a powerlifting gym, right? Strictly powerlifting, and a bodybuilder went in there, right? And he was trying to lift bodybuilding style. Those guys would completely be like, "What are you doing? You're not doing it right." Like they would probably give him shit for it.
Mm.
And he would be like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "No, I do it. I feel it." And they're like, "No, that's not the way you do it. You got to explode. You got to do the, you know what I mean?" Like, and he's like, "No, that's not. No, I'm trying to get bigger." And he's like,
I
"No,
will say though, once upon a time did that rep contest. It
yeah,
was 500 for reps, I think it was.
yeah, I remember that."
Um, and I beat all the powerlifters because they
Right.
all they all like
Well,
reset every single
well,
time.
and also too, they're not used to going past like 7 reps, dude. I mean, you know what I mean? For like
Like,
the most part, like
yeah,
they'll probably beat you in a single,
oh yeah,
but when you go higher reps like that, they're not used to doing anything past 7 or 8 reps. I mean,
oh no. I mean, and
so
that was the thing is like
Yeah.
one of the guys. I was pretty intimidated. Like he was a big dude. He's like
yeah,
holding some state records and stuff at the
yeah,
time. And he got 10, and I made sure I was the last guy to go because I'm like the only like non powerlifter in
okay,
this whole thing. And I was like, all right, he got 10. I'll get 11. And I get to 11. I'm like, I can do
I
another
can
one.
do
And
more.
then I'm like, I can do another one.
Yeah,
I can do another one.
yeah.
And I'm like, and then 14 was pretty hard. And then I'm like, all right, one more, just get it out. And like, I got like halfway and was like, oh, just dropped it. Like
Okay, like what was your single? Well, at the time, what was your single? You think
single,
on deadlift
competitively, it was only
max?
601. In the gym, I was able to do 7
Okay,
one
How
time.
that's pretty
how's
good.
that? How's there a 100-pound difference because you're in a different place?
It was just, yeah. I mean, honestly, it was just a
So you've done
different
7 in
day.
the gym.
I've done 7 in the gym. That was
Okay.
also after the powerlifting meet where I was determined, like, I did that meet, I took a state record, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, I'm kind of good at this. So I started looking up like national records and stuff and thinking, like, all right, I need to work harder and, get more. So within the next like 6 months, 7 months, I was able to pull 7, but in the gym.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. There was time in between.
And then I just started like kind of refocusing back to bodybuilding because that same year that I did that, I competed in the Ikaika,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and then did more shows and just kind of refocused back to bodybuilding. Mostly too because when you look up those national records, no joke, guys in the 220 weight class are pulling almost 900 pounds
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, 7's good.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's a big jump.
I don't know if I could do 9.
7 and 9.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
want to do
crazy.
9, but pretty
That's a
sure
lot of weight. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you got to just go full
I didn't go
powerlifting.
all powerlifting,
Yeah.
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 And I wasn't like even when I competed in powerlifting meets, I was still doing bodybuilding movements,
Yeah.
and still
Yeah.
doing pretty high rep on all like the basic, your squat, your bench, your deadlift. I was still doing
Mhm.
those, for sets of like 10 to 12.
Right.
Never really going singles often.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I
but for
mean, it's
reps, you can whoop a powerlifter's ass pretty easy.
oh yeah, no, for sure. Well, because I've had a couple of power lifters, and I'm sure you have too, who have come in and they wanted to start doing like bodybuilding training. They're like,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't want to powerlift anymore.
I have a guy right now actually.
And dude, the first few weeks, and I'm sure you've had it too, they were dying. I mean, they weren't. I was having them do 15, 12 reps, and he was just, especially on leg day, right? He was just dying. He
Oh
just
yeah.
was like, oh, that's a lot of reps, and I was like, no, it's not kind of
Mm.
standard. And they were, I mean, this guy was dying, and it took him, a good couple of months. I'd say 2 months till he was he got used to it, and got conditioned, and then it was okay.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, it was funny because he was like, man, he was like, I thought I was in really good shape, and then I started doing this, and then I realized I really wasn't. It was like, well, you were strong and you were in good shape for what you were doing,
Right.
but overall, yeah, you're probably your muscles weren't that conditioned. No, you know.
I've kind of noticed that seems to be like the biggest shocker, especially if you get somebody who's more in like the powerlifting, strength training
Mhm.
realm of things, and then wants to do bodybuilding because they get excited. Like they get here and they're like, "Oh wow, these guys look really cool. Like they all look really good, and I
Yeah,
want to look like that." So they
yeah.
get excited and they really want to do it. But I feel like that's the most like dramatic kind of notice, like thing that you notice in the person coming from that background to a bodybuilding background is like they're just like really shocked by the amount of reps.
Yeah, the amount of reps.
More
I know.
more than any
I
other
know.
person that comes
I
in,
know.
you know?
I know. I'm like,
But that's just the stimulus they need because they're used to just training under low,
Yeah.
But take that same bodybuilder who's just been doing the same thing and he can't grow anymore. I might throw him to a low rep type of scheme, more high intensity.
Yeah.
switch it up. Yeah.
But any novice stimulus is an effective stimulus.
Hmm.
Like your body is such an adaptive organism and it just adapts. So you have to like keep changing that stimulus.
Or keep putting overload on it.
Right. Or
Right.
yeah, somehow
Keep
like,
overloading it. Yeah.
do some type of, because progressive overload isn't just add more weight.
Mm,
Weight is just one part of the stimulus, right?
yeah.
The time under tension is another part of the stimulus.
Hmm. That's it.
It's just there's a lot to it.
Hey, man.
There's certainly a lot
Want to
to
get
it.
jacked? Let's get jacked. Yes.
And tan.
But I bet, if you talk to most people, even nowadays, it's like, how's your sleep? Almost 90% everyone's going to tell you it's like
Shit.
shitty at best.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a pretty good topic because, I think you want to stay
That'll make
maybe,
all the difference
well,
in
like
your
say in the last
development.
15 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Say in the last 15 years. How much worse has sleep gotten for everybody because of our phones?
Way worse.
Because of our phones, because of social media, because of when we didn't have that, right?
TV screens
Back
right in
in,
front of our bedrooms,
you know,
or
before social media, back in like what 2008, whatever, 7. I mean, right? You would watch TV probably or go on your computer at night and then you
Mhm.
would go to bed, right? Now, I mean, you lay in your bed and with your phone on, right?
Right.
And you're messing with that phone.
That's actually something
And
I've been working on the past few years is no screen time first and last hour of my day.
mm,
So if I don't text you back in the morning, I'm sorry. It's just because
yeah.
I'm not touching my phone.
Well, do you put it on do not disturb?
No, I just turn my phone
Oh, you
face
just
down and
Oh, okay.
stick it on the
So you
charger.
still, if somebody calls you,
I
you'll look at it.
I'll know if they called me. Like
Will
if
you will you look at it, or will you won't
no,
even look at it?
no.
You'll be like, it's
But it's
it's
like
10
by that
o'clock. I'm
time, it's
not.
like I've already kind of talked to everybody I need to talk to, So then it's like the last hour. It's like this
That's
either
pretty
you're
good.
I
Yeah.
absolutely silence my phone.
Yeah, you silence it.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
my phone's on
100%.
vibrate all the time actually, but
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, so it's on vibrate anyway.
yeah,
So you wake up to like surprises and stuff. You're like, let me see what I got. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Sometimes, what
I
bill is there
see. I
today?
see.
And then I set the blue light blocker like from like six
Yes, the
o'clock
blocker
on.
thing. Yeah. So
You
you
know,
had
I
you
got the
you believe in that?
glasses.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those I got those too. I mean, do you think those things work though?
They
I don't
actually,
know.
Oh, 100%.
I
Yeah,
think
it
they do.
works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
put them
have
on when I
those.
get
I
home.
I wear them all the time, but I don't know what. I don't know if it's working or not. But
I think going outside and putting your fucking feet in the grass for a half hour will help you fall asleep.
Definitely.
Yes,
I got a grounding mat under my desk. I use it every day.
Or even like, with your eyes closed, get out in the morning sun, look up at it, you're getting that right through your skin. Like just getting that fresh sun in the morning, like it definitely like gets all the right hormones going. That's for sure.
yeah. Well,
stare right at
and
the
we
sun.
live in like one of the perfect places also too. If you like look into like negative ions, is the ocean puts out a lot.
Oh yeah.
So go hang out
And
by
we're
the
very
beach for a
close
little
to the
bit.
equator,
Yeah,
right? So we're not looking through a whole bunch of pollution
yeah.
over the horizon.
The ocean's the best. That's actually the best source for
Because you
grounding
think
because it's more conductive, right? Because of salt
Yeah.
water.
you
Yep.
think that's part of the reason why a lot of people there's a lot more anxiety going on is because of this, because of the screen time,
I,
social media, and they're not,
well, there's the
like I said, they're
dopamine hit you're
not
getting from your
relaxing. It's too
phone.
much dopamine hits, right?
Yeah.
It's
Well, you're depleting
all day.
yourself
You're
because of it.
depleting yourself.
Yeah.
So by the time the evening comes, you're feeling all weird.
So
you're
your
getting
anxiety
that
goes through the roof,
anxiety
your cortisol goes through the roof, you freak
because
out.
your dopamine's just way
Well,
off.
part of it
Yeah.
is the algorithms too, right? Like, so they, they've spent billions of dollars on these engineers on
To
how
send
do we
you,
get you to engage
yeah,
more online, right? And they learned, for one, is that well, we're going to keep you in a group of
yeah,
like-minded individuals,
right.
right? So like we're going to constantly show you stuff. First off, they discovered the things that make you happy versus the things that enrage you. The
Mm.
things that enrage you will keep you engaged longer and will often get you to comment and stuff
So
versus
they
the
send
things
you
that they,
both. They send
right.
you both. Yeah.
Yeah, but more of the, the anger, right? Right. So the things that enrage you. And then the algorithms will send you all these other like videos and media types and posts and stuff like that of like-minded individuals that are also enraged about the same things that you're enraged about.
Yeah. Well, you go in the freaking comment section,
Yeah.
right?
So now like you go,
It's comment section, like
yeah. So now you go like at the end of the day, you're like, damn, whatever it is, that you're enraged about,
yeah.
like,
Now you're upset.
like
Right.
climate change. Like, "Yeah, I saw my freaking neighbor mowing his lawn with his gas powered vehicle. I can't breathe. He's destroying the earth. It's just, you get these people going nuts over this stupid shit,
Right. Right.
and it's just like, yeah, how are you going to sleep at night throwing all kinds
All
of hate
that. Yeah.
at your
Yeah.
neighbor because
Yeah.
he's mowing his lawn with a
Well, I'd be
non-battery
pissed he's
powered
mowing his
lawnmower?
lawn at night. It's kind of
Well,
loud.
I mean, other than
I'd be
screen
like, yo,
time too, like
motherfucker.
I've been trying to like not go on social media much. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like my average Instagram time is in minutes.
Is it?
Like,
What is it? You got your you go on social media, but I know Jeff's got the least amount of
Oh
time out of
yeah,
all of us.
I go
I
on.
mean,
I go
well,
on.
I'd like to compare yours, mine's, and Jody's and see
I go on like
what
maybe
our
once a
times
month.
are.
Yeah.
Just on just on our personal pages.
I wish I would tell you.
I kind of just I go on there on my personal page and just kind of like mess around a little bit, look at stuff. I mean, granted, Instagram's really good now at sending you all those ads of stuff that you like, right? So the minute I look up one thing, I'm interested in something like I want to get like a bike or something. All of a sudden, every other thing is like a bike, all these
Ooh,
different
you're
ads.
fooling. You don't even have to look it up.
Well,
You
we
just
just
have to
talk. Just
talk with
talk
your
about it.
phone in
Yeah.
front of
Well,
you.
yeah, that's
That
true.
shit is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
And that is legit.
My neck's been
Yeah,
hurting.
that is
My neck's been hurting, and
16
then
minutes
oh, that's really good.
average.
Yeah, that is
My neck's been
legit.
hurting me, and then all of a sudden, hey, you got the new
Well,
massager.
and they
Yeah.
definitely listen to you like on the mics in your phone.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
Oh,
and
yeah,
there's
sure.
even things you have to click now to
Yeah.
like disable it because of that exact reason.
Right.
And I learned that like 5 or 6 years ago or something, back
Yeah.
when I had the office. And I was literally talking to a client and being like, "Oh, I wonder if they make like Wi-Fi outlets that will check the kilowatt per hours, and I can like throw them on a timer or something, so I can like bring my electricity bill down." And like literally later that same day, I go on my phone. I never looked it up. I only set it, and there's ads for them,
Coming up.
and I'm like, "What the hell?" Like,
So you might as well just keep that feature. It's great. You don't have
No.
to. Yeah, you don't have to
I'm
Google
gonna
it. It
listen to
doesn't
everything
pop
I
up.
say.
Why not?
Dude, I was getting ads for when I bought the hockey skates.
Oh yeah,
I started getting ads for fucking skate sharpeners, like at home skate sharpeners.
yeah.
You could do it
Oh,
at
wow.
home. And I wasn't even looking that shit up.
Yeah, it's like they just look at like whatever you look at, and they
Yeah.
just throw everything at you.
Yeah.
I got a scarier one, and I don't know if it's a coincidence, possibly, but it just seems so far-fetched, right? So I come home one day, I'm driving up the driveway, and there was this duck, but it was like a goose. It was like a nene bird or something. I'm like, I've never seen a freaking duck. It was like a large duck, so
In
it was
your
a goose
neighborhood,
of
yeah.
some sort, but I didn't know what kind. Like, and it was just hanging around here, like, and then as I was like pulling in the driveway, it started following me in, like, so it was obviously like a domesticated one.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like looking at it, and I'm like, I wonder what they eat, but this is in my head. I'm like, because I want to feed him. It looks like he wants something, right? What do you feed ducks, So I go on my phone. Oh, well, before this, I was videotaping, just like, check this
Okay.
duck out. I'm like videotaping him. I never said anything out loud, just videotaping the duck. Yeah. And then I'm just thinking to myself, what do you feed ducks? You know? So I go, what do you feed? First thing that came up, ducks.
Yeah.
Ducks.
Ducks. Yeah.
You know, it's like,
It knew.
that's not a coincidence. Like somehow it read that off of the video I took because
Yeah.
it could have been anything in the
Right.
animal
Oh
kingdom.
yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
feed?
Yeah.
You know, like that. But the very first suggestion that pops up is ducks. Like, come on.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, we are constantly being monitored. You know,
Yep.
not well. I could argue to say the government has a lot, but because all these tech companies, they just sell all that shit to them. You know,
Yeah. Totally.
when they were trying to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, our
Yeah.
government
Yeah.
was trying to ban
Yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah.
and they had the CEO who's actually from Singapore, and they were trying to make out
Yeah,
that
I
he was
remember I saw
Chinese.
that. Yeah,
You know,
yeah. I saw that whole interview.
yeah, and he was like, "Oh, but they did have they 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 did have because TikTok is owned by the Chinese, so they had some Chinese representatives from China there at this congressional hearing." And then the one senator brought up, "Oh, you're collecting all the data of them, Mary." He goes, "Why would we like spend billions of dollars to make a social media company to collect your data?" He goes, "When your government just sells it to us."
That was good. That was true. That was good. Yeah.
Because the US government sells us all the citizens' data.
Hmm.
You know, and he said that right out in front of everybody.
Man.
And it's true.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was gonna ask, I was gonna talk about post contest and the rebound effect, right?
Ooh.
I actually want to talk about that because it's interesting, right? You diet for 12, 16 weeks, whatever that may be,
Mhm.
and you come down, you get your body fat really low, starving, you're hungry, whatever. You do the show, and then it's like yeah, it's like your body super compensates, right? After all that glycogen, the carb, everything, your body sucks it in, right?
Mhm.
For about that good few weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. And then usually, right, for most people, it's if your weight, say your weight was 200 pounds before your diet, right? Now all of a sudden you're like at 210, right? You're like, hey, I'm like 10 pounds heavier than I was before I started this diet.
Mhm.
It's amazing how a lot of it is water, right?
Yeah.
But you were able to like get past that sticking point, right? After your show, 3, 4 weeks after the show, you're like, man, I'm 10 pounds heavier than I was. And then a lot of guys will try to capitalize on that, right? And they'll just, okay, well, I'm gonna keep this going and start putting in calories and get back on, get back on a little cycle again so maybe I can gain another 10 pounds. And then when I get ready for my next show, that my weight will be 20 pounds heavier, so,
Right.
in theory, right, you put whatever, 10 pounds more muscle on, right, in theory. But, that's one of those amazing things, right? Like and I really feel like it does work. And it's almost like, if it works, it's almost like maybe, you should, if you don't compete every year, you should at least do it every year. Diet like you are going to compete every year. Do a prep, like a 12-week prep, and then go through the rebound effect and have all that. So that'll help. That'll be part of your gain, of your program to gain muscle.
Large other than the water,
Yeah.
manipulation that makes you like balloon,
Right. Right.
and then typically there's a sodium manipulation too, right? So
That.
now your
Yes.
body's like hyper holding sodium and water.
Hmm.
Let's just take that factor out.
Yeah.
When you're dieting and a strict contest dieting, like you're basically your metabolism is slowing to
Mhm.
count for that caloric
Right.
intake,
Right.
and it's just slowing and slowing. And what's happening is you're becoming very insulin sensitive,
Hmm.
where you really want to be, you know?
Yeah.
And so you become hyper insulin sensitive. And what does that mean? Just a very little bit of insulin will go a long way when your blood sugar's up, right? That's like ideal,
Yeah.
right? You're getting like a perfect metabolism to put, to to burn fat or even put on, just utilize all your nutrients.
Mhm.
So when you're in a big time, especially if you've been, I hate using that word bulking, but you're trying to put on muscle and you're a big time caloric surplus, guarantee you get insulin resistant.
Mhm.
But when you're just eating like tons of food, and you know how much food we think we need to eat, and
Right.
for some of it's true because like I ate more than like I was physically ill, even though would stay lean.
Yeah.
Man, I don't think I couldn't. I could, but I just wasn't willing to be so uncomfortable and push that much food for that size for as long as I have. It's just like this is a lifestyle not worth living if I have to be miserable just to gain a couple of extra pounds.
Right.
But the people that are trying to win in the sport, we do the uncomfortable thing because it's necessary. But
Mhm.
no doubt, the longer you're in that off season, you're becoming insulin resistant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by doing that strict diet, you become very insulin sensitive. And then watch how much your body will put on weight real fast, like, good weight too.
Yeah. Yeah. Solid. Yeah.
So I think it's important to go through periods of surpluses and then a bit of a deficit, reset your insulin sensitivity back and forth, back and forth. And you can do that all naturally. Some guys will take like metformin,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, just to control blood sugars and all that kind of thing, or even growth hormone. But you can do it naturally just by doing periods of heavy caloric surpluses and then a little bit of a deficit, surplus, a little bit of a deficit. Your training will improve it.
You don't even have to go in a huge deficit. You could do days
Right.
where it could be all fats, no carbs. I had a guy a couple years ago, long distance, and his blood sugar was always really high, even though he was leaner.
Hmm.
And so like on like his arm day or on day off, we'd just be all fats and
That's a
protein.
good point. Right.
And then over time, it started getting better.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
use
you
that
can
because
improve insulin
yeah,
sensitivity just by changing your macronutrients.
yeah, and
Yeah.
if you wake up and you're at like 110, 120, you ain't gonna lose muscle to train with no
Yeah.
carbs. You're
Right.
gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Hey, if you, as
He's
long as
talking
you,
about blood sugar, by the way.
yeah, but yeah, by
Yeah.
your glucometer in the morning.
Yeah.
So if you get up and you're like, because I've had people that'll wake up 120 no matter what, and I would tell them train fasted, which I
Yeah.
usually say do not do that.
Yeah.
But if you have somebody that's got plenty of glucose floating around and stuff, they need to use it.
Absolutely.
So that's where like training fasted would come in. Just some things you can do, and even in off season, if you apply some of those just to keep the glucose in a reasonable range, so their insulin sensitivity is better,
Hmm.
they'll be more likely to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Good
Most
point.
definitely.
Yeah.
What about fasting? Do
Yeah.
you think fasting has a role in?
I think a good 12 to 16 hour once a week.
I do.
Especially in off season.
I do
think
a lot of
I think
12-hour.
it's super beneficial.
I do a lot of 12-hour fasting.
Yeah.
Like all the
Daily.
time. Like all the time. Just because
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
only ask because after not competing anymore, like I ended up kind of just
It just
eating
feels
like maybe
better.
once or twice a day,
Yeah, yeah.
to be honest. And like I don't look half
Doesn't
bad
it?
still.
Well, and don't you feel better sometimes?
I
Like,
actually feel really good most of the time.
right.
Like I train fasted every morning.
Oh
And
wow,
then
okay.
like, like
Yeah.
leave my house by 5:36 a.m., get to the gym, do 45 minutes, another half hour cardio after, get home, maybe eat breakfast. If
Mhm.
not, like I'm literally not having any kind of food until probably like 2 in the afternoon,
Mhm.
And if we're
Mhm.
working together, then
Right.
yeah, it's usually about 2 in the afternoon. We go grab lunch.
Yeah.
And I almost never grab lunch.
But yeah, and then it's like then I do end up probably having something around dinner time and get ready to go to sleep.
Mhm.
And I feel fine the next day. So I'm assuming, and I haven't because I haven't checked my blood sugar levels in a while.
Anybody who hasn't fasted and they go and do a good 12 to even 24-hour fast, tell me you don't feel amazing the next day. You really do. Huh.
Would you
Yeah.
implement that in for a bodybuilder?
Oh, I have
Off
numerous
season,
times.
yeah.
Yeah,
Especially the bigger guys.
yeah.
Isn't it something after 8 hours no eating, your organs start naturally detoxing?
Yeah.
So if you do a 12, 16 hour fast, you get about 4 to 8 hours of
Yeah,
detox.
they call it like it's called autophagy, the cellular cleansing process. Like you get these senescent cells, which are these cells that are damaged, and or even dead, right? Like so you have cells that get damaged And those are the worst ones because those are the ones that can regenerate into a cancerous type of cell if you have too much of those floating around. But the process that our body produces are these little photogy things, and it's basically a bug that goes and eats them, like feeds on these things. But that bug doesn't become present unless you've been in a fast for, I think, from what the science has shown, around 12 to 14 hours is when your body starts releasing these photogens, and it goes and it literally eats these damaged cells and feeds off it and cleans your body of that.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And think about bodybuilders are eating every like 4 hours, almost
yeah.
never going through this process. And this process was over, the science is the history, the science, the anthropology, the archaeologist, whatever genetic biologist, how far does the Homo sapien man go in time, right? Because they don't really know. There's, we thought 150,000 years, but now we're finding stuff from damn near like footprints from 1,000,000 years ago. Just like of modern man, which is crazy.
Of not Cro-Magnon.
Yeah, no, like modern Homo
Aliens
sapien.
exist. For real. So aliens exist.
Aliens exist. Yeah, that's another topic.
But I mean, just think about like now you got to think in that long period, there's been massive periods of like different climate change where we've gone through famines and like even thousands of years of people just barely making it, on food, and then thousands of years of prosperity because of warm climate. Like food is growing, animals are plentiful, people are eating. The body changes, right? We adapt.
Right.
And I think
But that won't happen probably for a while again. It's because we can grow and develop and research every fucking thing on the face of the planet where they make fake food all day.
yeah, and it's just like, but like what the last ice age was about 12,000 years ago. Like, so just take from that to now, we've been in like a caloric deficit. Like the human body's adapted to like only eating seasonal, whatever grows at that time, because we didn't have the logistics to move food, from Mexico to New York. If you lived in Alaska, you weren't getting mangoes from Hawaii.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, and this just went on, and the body just makes these adaptations, to survive off of little bit of food. And then all of a sudden, and again, this is another weird controversy, like however long Homo sapiens go back, for some reason, only in the last 10,000 years or so, we go from grunting cavemen for 1,000,000 years, and then boom, we got cell phones, and we're sending probes to like Mars and stuff, and we got flying machines, and like, I don't know.
That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, those are
It's just like all of a sudden
interesting.
our brains developed and we became completely different people.
Actually,
Right.
the research behind the brain growth is actually from like a higher abundance of protein being available.
Well,
Protein
that's a
available.
hypothesis.
Man, that's what they taught me in anthropology.
Right. I know that doctor that was promoting that. That's it's at the tip of my tongue. Because another doctor said, "Oh, it was when we discovered like psilocybin."
Oh, I
But then
thought it
again,
was like
that's
creation
when
of fire.
But all that came out when they believed like the Sumerians were the first real like civilization, and then they're like, which was like 6,000 years ago or so, about 5,000 years ago. It was like, oh, the Sumerians were the very first before that hunter gatherers, and then oops, we found something in Turkey, this place called Göbekli Tepe. Oh shit, this goes back 12,000 years. Okay, we were wrong. Huh.
Yeah, man. I mean,
That's actually a pretty cool subject right there.
It's a subject that I actually love.
There's a lot.
Yeah,
to
I can go on for hours on
Yeah.
it. Like,
I don't think our our viewers would have that kind of
no, but I
patience
mean,
with
it's
that.
just like, so when you are fighting genetic evolution, our bodies were meant to hold calories, to store energy, not to expel them very easy. That's why it's so much easier to get fat than it is to get lean. You're fighting, thousands of years of genetic evolution in order for the human body to survive. Our whole body with its hormones and its microbes and bacteria and everything is all made. How do we store food? Store energy, extract energy from certain foods, and we have periods of fasting a lot. But how do we survive through those? How do we slow our metabolism and all that? Imagine if it was the other way around. We went through thousands of years where we're just stuffing our faces like pigs,
Yeah.
and then we go from that to like food scarcity. Watch how quick like everybody will start dropping because our metabolisms were just fired to burn food,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I had what you call a professor in college who she said that when you have a higher metabolism, you're actually being more energy inefficient than how the body is designed to be.
Right,
Right.
Oh yeah.
because the
So
body's designed to protect
To
itself.
to
hold
maintain
on.
those
To hold
calories,
on.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I mean, we'd go right like hundreds of years ago. I mean, people would hunt, they'd eat, and then they wouldn't eat sometimes for
Yeah, not even 1,000, hundreds.
yeah. Well, as I
Yeah,
said,
yeah, just a
hundreds of
couple of
years
hundred
ago,
years ago.
they would basically not eat for days,
Right.
right, until they got their next meal. They
Think of our activity level. I love this example too. I always pick everyone just picture this. Take somebody from 18 1850. So let's go a little bit more than 100 years ago, right? Pop them a person from the 1850s. Nobody had automobiles, right? We had horse and buggy, you know, when was the first automobile? It wasn't. It was like
was
early
it like
1900s, right?
Was it like 1901 or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, it's not like
Some
Ford or
or
something.
or
Anyway,
1904. So, I don't know. Something
Hold
around
So
there.
on,
somebody
hold
out there
on.
knows.
but just yeah,
I kind of thought that I knew that, but
It
1902
was
or 1911.
Model
I don't
T?
know.
1885.
Oh
1885.
shit.
Yeah,
Oh,
Vince Patton.
I thought it
Well,
was like
I bet it was
1901 or
probably
something.
really uncommon for people to have them
So
at first.
Ford actually came out with a vehicle in like the
Ford came out
1900s.
with the Model T.
yeah,
The
they were the
Model
first
T.
production
Yeah,
like vehicle.
production.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
first
Right.
vehicle
First
was
vehicle was Benz. The
Nice.
Vince
18.
Patton motor wagon.
Oh wow,
Wow,
Huh.
cool knowledge.
1895.
All right, so let's just say, all right, 1850, but
Yeah.
and let's go out in rural somewhere, 1850. I don't know, Nebraska,
Oh,
something,
geez.
whatever,
Oh,
right? You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just
I don't know if it's changed
take
much.
like take your average Joe or something, and then zap them in today, put them in front of uh, a Planet Fitness or a 24-hour fitness where you're looking through the window and you're seeing all these people on treadmills and ellipticals and circuits, and think about what they think. They'd be like, "What the hell are those people doing?" They're
Walking in
like,
place,
they're like
accomplishing
walking
nothing.
on these things. It's like rats on a spinning wheel. Like trying to explain to
Yeah.
them, like,
Yeah.
what? This is the future. What are you guys doing? Oh, see, we have to do that so we don't get fat because we don't move like today.
Right. Right.
Like you know how you walk to
'Cause
work and you walk to school. Yeah, we
yeah,
don't do that
everybody
anymore.
is in
We have a
shape.
machine that takes us there. We don't even have to we don't even have to like get up basically to make our food. Like
Well, it's interesting. I don't even think you have to go that far back because I can tell you in high school in the 80s when I was lifting weights, and it wasn't just one person, like parents, uncles, they grew up in the like 1940s, 50s, right?
mhm.
They would always question, like, what are you doing? Why are you going to the gym? What are you doing? You're wasting, and they would, and then what would they do a lot of times? Oh, you could go work, you could go do that. You should go do
Yeah.
that. Why you got to go to the gym? I got something you can go do. I got some stuff you can go move, lift.
Yeah.
They didn't get it, right?
Yeah.
But that was in the 80s, and they didn't even understand then, like, what's the
But
purpose
it's like
of moving
the
weight
whole
and
point is
lifting?
just like as a society, we've come to accept our inactivity as normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You know,
that's
like-
true. I
I
mean,
think like a lot of it kind of stems from how you were brought up and stuff too. Because like I know my generation, we were known for like we're outside. Like video games kind of came out when I was more well, obviously when they're younger, but newer systems when I was like 12. So we're not sitting inside playing video games all day. We don't have a tablet. Doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Cell
yeah.
phones are kind of new thing. Internet was slow as hell.
Mm.
And but anyways, it's like
we didn't have any of that.
Yeah.
like but
I
so
am,
like
I'm
but
in.
we're outside, like
Yeah.
we're outside all the time. So we're active, and basically what I'm trying to get to is like that definitely carried over into like my adulthood, where something as simple as yes, it's still a vehicle, right? But like I enjoy riding my motorcycle to get to work and stuff
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
because I feel lazy as fuck in my car.
Mm.
Like just I have to do it sometimes. But just something as simple as that, like just getting outside to do something.
Mhm.
Whereas like a lot of people nowadays don't really go outside on purpose. It's like just the like get to the car to go to the
Yeah.
store to go
Yeah.
back home.
But I get why, like, I mean, it's like we're all stuffed into these little cities and stuff like that, and there's like people don't feel safe
Yeah.
walking outside because
You know,
we don't address mental illness. We don't seem to address homelessness. Like, and
yeah.
I get it why people like are too scared to go walk around the Alawai or or Ala Moana, go up and down the beach.
You know what I did? What I noticed is, so like you said, okay, as adults, right, we're not very active. Most adults, they're not as active anymore, right? They don't do things. They don't even walk that much. And I noticed I would watch kids. I'd watch little kids, like little 6, 7, 8 year olds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you watch them, even when people are taking their kids to the store. What is the kid doing? The kid's sprinting. Like the parents are walking, the kid's sprinting to the front door. Now imagine if all adults were doing that. We were like, hey, Target, let's go. We're
Yeah.
sprinting to the front door. We're like, all right. And we're like moving around and we're dancing. And we're like, oh yeah. And then we're running down the hall, running down the thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then stopping, looking around, jogging back. That's what the kid's doing. Like I'm watching these
Naturally,
kids.
right?
And
Naturally.
nobody questions it because it's a kid. And
Right.
you're just like, oh, here's this kid running around. And then if he has a friend, even more so, he's like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, let's go. And then they're running around, right?
Yeah.
It's just normal behavior for a kid to do that, right? So think about the amount of calories just going to Target for like a half an
Yeah.
hour. How much calories that kid burn, right?
Right.
Mm.
While the parent is just with the cart,
Yeah.
taking their
But
time.
it's like obviously that behavior can't be socially acceptable all the
It's not
time,
socially
right? So
acceptable.
you throw a tablet in their hands.
It's not socially acceptable. I think it's funny if adults did start doing
I
that.
think it's a
I
great
think it's
concept.
great.
I'm all
Right.
about it.
Hey,
I support it.
let's start running to the door. Let's start running up and down the aisles. Like I mean,
Yeah.
If you just have ADHD,
yeah, well, yeah.
you'll do it.
But yeah, so I noticed that. I was like, oh, this is why kids, you don't really see these. Now, granted, there are some fat kids, but a lot of the kids there they're so active that they're not going to get fat. I mean, they eat whatever they want. They running around. Yeah,
But child
yeah.
obesity is way on the
Oh
rise.
no, it's
But
high
part of it
now.
too is like I think the DOE is now up to like nearly 70% of all the food it serves in the cafeteria is processed foods.
See, and that's another problem,
You
right?
know, that's a whole nother podcast. We can go into like the poisoning of America.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like so. Yeah, so not
But
only
that's
we're being poisoned by our food, which disrupts our mitochondria, our metabolisms, our
mm,
guts. We're highly inflamed. You got that
messes
on
with your
top of
hormones.
inactivity.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you got boys that are getting high estrogen levels. You got girls that are
Yes.
also
High estrogen levels.
estrogen level, and they're having their periods at a younger age now, and their
Yeah.
development it's so much younger now, right?
Really,
Yep.
really gross and sad thing. But I had a friend right after college who was a nurse in the maternity ward,
Mm.
and he delivered a baby from an 11-year-old girl.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah, but like just the fact that
11.
she could have been pregnant, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
already,
yeah.
obviously for 9 months,
Right.
and then it's like you're saying, it's like those high estrogen levels at a very young age. It's like,
Well,
oh my
wasn't
god,
there? I mean, what was Anna's pregnancy? Wasn't there like a 7-year-old girl or 8-year-old that had a
what?
baby? Yeah, no, there was. I think it was 7 years old. It was it 7?
That's
I mean,
straight
you
up
could look
rape.
it up and see, but
That's
maybe
disgusting.
no, it was rape. I
Yeah.
think it was her
It's
dad.
disgusting.
Yeah, there's
Her
some
dad,
fucked up
yeah.
dads out there.
Yeah, dude. But anyway, I think I was like, that's crazy. You know what I mean? And then she had the baby. It's pretty sad.
Wow.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, and that just goes to like, how are they biologically able to have a kid at 7 years old, right? Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I think the
definitely not
average
norm.
female puberty is around 11 years old, I think.
I think it's 11 or
around
12
now,
now,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? I think it's
It's
around
it's
there.
lowering because of all these
Yeah,
xenoestrogens
right.
and astrazine, which seems to be in all the water, which is nuts, and which is a highly like endotoxic. I mean, how many places in America is our water like fluorinated? And fluoride is now just been recognized as an absolute neurotoxin, and it does nothing good for us. In fact, it actually lowers our IQ levels.
Yeah, why are they putting fluoride in the
Why are
water?
you putting that shit in the
Right.
water?
Right.
It just makes no.
There was always that one that your third eye
They don't give
thing.
a
You heard the
crap.
third
Yeah.
eye? The
And it
fluoride will,
calcifies.
The
yeah,
pineal
it'll
gland.
calcify
Yeah.
your pineal gland.
But
So
it's just
not
like there's no like, when has our government ever gave a crap about our health? And you really think they care whether we have a cavity or not? To the point
Oh,
where
yeah.
they're going to have to literally like spend billions of dollars on somehow like putting this chemical in our water
So you
treatment
think it's some
plants.
type of control, like
It's mind
human
control.
control?
I
mind
don't know
control, yeah.
what it is, but it doesn't make any
Soylent
sense.
Green. You ever seen that movie
When has
Soylent
the
Green?
US government done anything to
Soylent
help
Green.
the health of the people? Without any kind of a financial benefit to
Of course,
themselves.
yeah.
Have you? Yeah, there's. I mean,
I
they
use,
make movies on this stuff, right?
Huh?
Like Hollywood's made movies on these
Yeah.
things, right? And it's all out there, right? But it's just a movie. But it's like,
But
It's not always just a movie.
yeah,
I don't think.
No, but
right.
there's been lawyers fighting this fluoride thing because scientists have known about it, but they've
So
been
what states
silenced.
are
They've been
doing it?
silenced.
What states are doing it?
Colorado, they fluoridate their water.
Oh,
but
almost all the states.
most
are,
all of the United
yeah,
States does
Yeah.
it. We're one of the lucky ones that doesn't.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
We just pour.
But then you go and buy bottled water. And you're like, I live
Yeah.
in Hawaii. I buy bottled water from some other state,
Yeah.
and then I get fluoride. Cool.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Instead of just thinking Hawaii water filtered, like
Yeah.
that's kind of funny.
Well,
But
if you notice, a lot of toothpastes have been removing it because they
Yeah,
understand that
they're-
they're
I
getting.
use fluoride-free
Yeah.
toothpaste and mouthwash,
yeah,
and
becoming a thing now, right?
Well, I mean, thank God. Like I said, it's been silenced for a long time, and there was just, I think it just got ruled on in San Francisco.
Hmm.
Like finally, like they got some judges. I could be wrong. Maybe it's still. I'm pretty sure they just ruled that this one of the appellate courts ruled that fluoride was a dangerous toxin and it has no place in the water system.
Okay.
And for it to be removed. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's wild. I wonder whose idea was that? Like, what?
I don't know.
it's
What was
definitely
going
an
on
early
there?
America thing. And I think it, if I remember right, because I lived in Colorado for a while, that it's something about like for the miners and stuff that are down, whatever in the mines doing their thing all day, that the water they were getting was like causing their teeth to rot. So they discover this fluoride thing that will like save the enamel on your teeth or whatever, and they start adding it to their water, and then that seemed to help. So they're just like, let's save the whole country and put
They
it in the
dump
entire water
fluoride in
system.
the water, though. Like they just take the chemical and just pour it in the water.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like how much? I wonder
In
how
the
much.
in the water treatment plants.
Yeah, like how much are they putting in there? Yeah.
Well, that was another thing, right? Because there's an acceptable, according to the EPA, there was an acceptable level, parts per million of this, and when they went around testing it, like I think more than half of them, like more than exceeded that acceptable
Mm.
level.
I think with the whole coal miner thing, it's like something like DMP, right? Used as like a fat burner, was actually used as like a catalyst for TNT that they're using to blow these holes up in there.
Yeah,
And these
yeah,
guys are
yeah.
like coming out weak, and their metabolisms are complete shit right now because they've been sweating their ass all day.
They were
working super
messing
hard,
with
not getting
that.
fed. They
Yeah.
use that stuff all day. Like you just get on your hands, it gets
Right.
just,
It absorbs. Yeah.
these guys are
Yeah.
packing it into these caves.
So they're
and
taking
blowing
this
shit up all day.
this chemical into your system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
So I think it's more that, like it's just
That's how
basically
it was.
malnutrition.
right. Yeah, they're
forced
in there all day. They
malnutrition.
probably eat one meal and they're working 12 hours.
Oh no, it was discovered from the railroads. The guys that were blasting through the the mountains to lay the railroads. They were having to give the guys that were handling the dynamite extra rations because they were literally wasting away.
So
And
they were
that's
getting
when
the
they
DMP effect.
discovered.
Yeah.
Basically,
The-
that's when they discovered, hey, this stuff actually
Yeah,
helps your metabolism.
that's when they started studying it and saw that the chemical 2,4-dinitrophenol,
Uh-huh.
which is DMP, was basically,
and explosives.
yeah, it's an uncoupling protein, right? So it uncouples that oxidative phosphorylation in the Krebs cycle.
Yeah, that's the
so
one.
it doesn't
Jeff always remembers all that.
Yeah, it did.
Everybody said, "I go, yeah, I remember that." Couldn't repeat it, but I do remember it. Yeah.
It's so like, that Krebs cycle is basically where calories is a measurement of heat of the glucose being oxidized,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's just like, but when the production of adenosine triphosphate ATP is created through that Krebs cycle, through that oxidative phosphorylation, um, DNP will come along and block the binding of the phosphate molecules to the adenosine molecules,
ATP,
so
yeah.
you don't get that ATP. You get
Yeah.
something called adenosine like diphosphate,
Mhm.
and which your cells can't use at all. But the regulatory system in your body says, hey, we're not getting any ATP. Time to burn more,
Mhm.
and so your body is just, you're like turning the signal on your body that our body's starving for this cellular energy, even though, and it is, because there's a disruptor at the end of the process of, of the oxidation,
Mhm.
so the oxidation is still happening. Calories are being burned. Basically, you're creating the heat, but the energy, the end product is, it's like a car going through an assembly line that comes out at the other end without an engine. It's like, it's a useless car,
Right.
but we're producing cars, but there's no engines. We can't use it. That's the DNP. It removes the engine at the very end. It makes it look like there's a whole bunch of cars, you know,
That's a good way to put it.
yeah. And it's just like, so your body's like, okay, well, for some reason, the freeways are still empty. There's no cars on the freeway. Like,
Yeah.
so shit's not getting done. We need like more cars. It tells the factory, hey, you got to start producing more cars. And they
Yeah.
just keep producing more carbs, not realizing that there's a wrench in the works that are stealing the engines at the very end. And that's what makes DMP so effective, right? Because it's like you're telling your body it needs to burn more, 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 even though it's doing it.
Yeah.
It's just disrupting the very end product it's trying to create.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
a very effective drug. However,
Oh, some good
there's
side effects.
DMP isn't doesn't go in and out of your system very quickly, so
Yeah.
it will build up. Like people
Yeah.
that do daily doses,
Mm.
like don't realize they're titrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
They're thinking,
I used to
oh,
have
I'm going to
that.
do
There was a
200
chart.
milligrams a day.
Yeah.
And you might know this too, because the one thing, might have learned this from Tony or Trevor or something, that it's different for everybody. Like some
Yeah.
people can do 200 a day and they'll probably stay around 200 milligrams of
Okay.
active
Okay.
like DMP. But some people, their body doesn't, like, it holds it more, right? So it's kind of depends on the genetics of the person.
Mm.
Somebody can do like 200 milligrams of DMP every other day and
Mhm.
just maintain.
I see.
It goes faster through some people than it does other. And if you're that one that you're just building upon, you get to a point where you just start cooking yourself from the inside out.
Yeah.
I feel terrible.
I mean, I remember there was a chart, and it would help you chart it out, like how much you would be at.
Yeah.
This, and you as you go every day,
And you
it
have
would
to be
build
careful
up.
because, like, depends on your body, right?
Right.
It's not like a solid half-life that it is for a lot of other like different drugs. That one's
Right.
kind of a weird one, like probably based off of mitochondrial function, right? Some
Mm.
people are so mitochondrially dysfunction. Some people like have good mitochondrial function, and that probably matters, like how much that you can handle. Something you almost have to monitor your body temperature.
Oh yeah, I
You
think
know,
that's important too. You got to be careful. I mean,
we're not recommended to
I would
use.
say don't even use it.
No.
Just don't even. Just diet. And just, yeah.
Yeah, you can get the same results. That just it's just kind of the easier way to maybe get away with
It's the
not
only
dieting as long or
true.
dieting
It's
as
the only
hard.
true fat burner out of
In a
all.
pill.
'Cause all
Yeah.
the other
Yeah.
fat burners are like stimulants or
Right.
maybe aiding
Yeah.
fat mobilization. This is the only one you can literally just sit on the couch and burn fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It is.
know?
It's literally when they say, "Can I just take a pill?" Like, yeah, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And you will, you
But
will burn fat,
yeah,
and predominantly that, and not
there's
so much
issues.
glucose, right?
There's some negative side effects.
Yeah, but every time you eat carbs, you
Skin
sweat
gets
your ass
yellow.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or really
When
sweating
you
your ass
sweat,
off.
your skin's like yellow.
Yeah.
So,
Yellow
so
sweat.
again, so think about like why
And
that
the
is. So,
cataracts too and stuff, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
and then those that work out too, right? So you create an environment where your body's looking for glucose, and then you take in glucose while you're doing DMP,
Yeah.
and you're, oh my God, you're
Yeah.
really like
Sweating.
pouring fuel on a fire.
Yeah.
You know, when that stuff is so effective of you just not even moving, you know, and your body's in that fat burning zone where it's like, okay, we just need a slower energy, so we're just gonna like burn like your stored body fat,
Yeah.
you know.
That's
It's like
wild.
it's dangerous. Yeah, you can. A lot of people died from trying that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Moral of the
Alright.
story: don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs.
Don't do drugs, kids.
That was
What
a-
happened to that though? I feel like,
It's
does
still out
anybody
there.
ever hear? Is it?
I mean, it's
Do you
still
ever
out
hear of
there.
anybody? I don't hear of any competitors ever.
I don't think
using
it's
it anymore.
popular as it
really.
was, but it's
No.
definitely still.
It
out
makes you
there.
feel like absolute
Dog
garbage.
I've seen people use it before.
Yeah.
Been bad.
Mm.
Like just sit under the air conditioning vent.
Yeah.
Just because they walked up a small flight of steps.
Oh.
Yeah, when I took it, I made sure I took it right at nighttime, laid in front of my AC with a fan on me, with a ceiling fan on, and I would still like my bed would be soaked every day.
Yeah.
It was disgusting.
You know what?
Yeah, it's not a good
It's
drug.
just like I remember years ago thinking of this subject, and I'm like, you know what it would be good for is like those guys that like climb Mount Everest or something.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually,
You know
Russian
what I mean?
soldiers did that.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Oh,
to
okay.
keep them from getting hypothermia
Yeah.
because they're like marching through
But then your
Siberia
energy
and shit.
levels, your energy
No,
levels
you would
are
have to.
kinda shot.
You would have to feed.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah,
eat.
You would,
yeah.
you would
We'd have to
definitely
be
feed.
eating a lot.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But yeah,
Man,
they
your
use it
energy
to keep
levels.
them alive. To keep
And
them
it
Yeah.
helped because they were keeping him warm.
Yeah,
They
So,
did that.
yeah.
huh?
yeah. They
Okay.
could use it.
Yeah.
It would be cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, let's go put a bunch of mountain climbers on drugs.
Yeah.
Good drugs. Let's see. Hey, try this out, guys.
Yeah.
See if it
What's
works.
interesting, right? Because we all used to think that just like drink a half a bottle of whiskey and that warms you up, right?
Yeah.
But really it doesn't, because you're not getting any like mitochondrial, like, because alcohol does not convert to any kind of usable calories, right? It just gets processed by the liver. It doesn't go through oxidative phosphorylation. It doesn't burn like a carbohydrate. You know, your liver processes it into a phospholipid and stores it you know, around the visceral fat. So it's like an unusable like thing of calories, but maybe it's just the burning in our stomach makes it feel like well, we're warm.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess. Yeah.
Well, like you said though, too, it's a toxin. So the process of your body trying to reject it, right, could cause you to have like,
Oh,
maybe a bit
true.
of a fever. You know, to get warm and try to sweat it out.
Well, that's how your body deals with a lot of pathogens, is by heating it up, right?
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think there is some physiological reason for it to actually warm you up and
Probably is.
not deceive you of being warm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably is. I'm just thinking.
Yeah. Thinking out loud.
So many questions.
I
But
think
it's
that's
pretty cool to think about.
I think that's a wrap, guys.
Yeah. That was good.
Mhm.
What about you, Jed? Got anything?
I'm sorry. I'm trying to stay awake.
Jeff,
I'm
yeah.
falling
Too.
asleep.
Well, I'm the
Yeah.
same way. I'm
I think
Yeah.
everyone's tired.
Everyone's dead
except
today.
for Jody.
No, I'm
You're
faking
tired
it.
today too. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
I think we all had a rough week. So
Yeah,
All
this week
right.
has been fucking
Well,
shit.
thanks for joining us on this exciting episode
Yeah.
of Paradise Pump. And we'll be back next week with more Paradise Pump. Aloha.